you find that they look at the same.
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that.
Welcome back, and if you're just joining us, this is Daybreak on Trust Television. We're now going to look at what the newspapers are saying this morning, and as usual, we'll be starting with the Daily Trust newspaper. It has a lead story that says, Niger airspace closure, Europe-bound flights diverted amidst fear of fare hike. And the first rider, Lagos-London one-way ticket costs 5.6 million naira. We also have another rider that says Mali, Burkina Faso send delegation to Niger. Air France suspends flights. ECOWAS meets again Thursday. Germany threatens copies with sanctions and prosecution. And beneath that, we have a pictorial with a caption that says, a generator being refilled in Niamey as Nigeria disconnects electricity supply to its northern neighbor. Also, we have El-Rufai, 2 others confirmation on hold as Wike, Party, Edu, 42 others are cleared. And you'll find details of that report on page 10 of the Daily Trust. Beneath that, we have digital skills. Federal government partners Wema Bank to empower 1 million youths. Boa Group donates 25 vehicles to NDLEA. Kaduna villagers who lost 3 kids to banditry killed bandits leader. This is on page 6 of the newspaper. And just beneath the masthead, we have issues as Ganduje moves to unify APC. The details of the report is on page 11. We also have WAEC withholds results of 262,803 candidates. And finally, on the front page of the Daily Trust this morning, we have Tinubu, Atiku, Senate, others hail Super Falcons despite World Cup exit. These are the major stories on the Daily Trust newspaper for today.
Let's move to the Punch newspaper. The lead story says federal government withdraws contempt suit against Labour and NLC may suspend strike. The writers attached to the story said Solicitor General writes NLC. Falana says federal government suspends suit over Tinubu's intervention. The other writer says NLC, TUC await federal government on palliative agreement, call special meeting over planned strike. You can get details of that story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And then there's an interesting pictorial just below the lead story. You can see at the right-hand side of that pictorial, we have the federal, the chairman of the Federal Character Commission, Dankaka, holding a Quran and then raising a hand up like she was swearing to something. And then we have other members, the other state chapters of the Federal Character Commission and pictorials at the left-hand side as well. So the story there is that a former Character Commission officer admits taking bribes and indicts a chairman. That story started, we started on page 28 in the Punch newspaper. And let's take a look at the top. We have Senate refuses to confirm El-Rufai, Danladi and female nominee. Page 8 has that story. Then Niger mega rail project threatened, over 1,000 trucks trapped. Page 2 has their story on Obaseki dismisses impeachment plot, says Tribal planning APC defection. Page 11 accommodates our story. Let's take a look at the bottom strip of the Punch newspaper. Jakande received Banana Island, allocated no plot to self. That's coming from his son there. Page 7 has more. And the mob attack cop as bus crashes motorists on BRT lane. Page 4 has that story. Very sad one there. And then FBN shareholders protest AGM suspension, demand regulators intervention. Page 22 has more details of that story. And that's about the stories in the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning.
Now let's take a look at the Daily Sun. It has a lead story that says, still on Niger, it says Niger, ECOWAS leaders perfect action plan. And the first rider meet on Thursday at Mali, Burkina Faso plan to send delegation. We also have MBF advises Tinubu to focus on Nigeria's problems. And the last rider, we have it to be a useless venture. This is according to Air Chief Ochulo. And beneath that, we have federal government to remove taxes on tomatoes, raw food items soon. This is, says the JTB chairman. Beneath that, Abiola persuaded my father to join Abacha's government, Jakonde's son, Sheyi. And then the writer says he will be remembered for good deeds. This is according to Sowonlu and editors. Mob beats policeman over death of man crushed by BRT. Also still on the Daily Sun, we have Seplat Energy's gas revenue grows to $63.7 million. And beneath that, we have WAEC withholds WASC results of 8 states over debt. And at the bottom strip, we have Senate suspends confirmation of Erufai Danladi Okotete over security report. And we'll have a writer there that says chaos, drama in chamber over Keyamo. Still on the Sun, Tinubu Atiku hail Falcons' performance against England. These are the major stories on the Daily Sun newspaper for today.
Let's start from the top of the Nation's newspaper. No plot to impeach Shuaibu, says Obaseki. Court action preemptive. That's one of the writers attached to the stories. And that story is on page 28 in the Nation's newspaper. Now, it sold jobs for 1.5 million at federal agency, says ex-worker. All right, page 2 has that. And then Sanwo-Olu, Nwachukwu, Adinaike, Extol Jakonde, page 3 has more details. And then the lead story this morning, and it said federal government uncovers 44 multiple taxes in bills and sit-at-home flops. Okay, that's above the lead story. Page 28 has that. And then security clearance delays Erufai, Okotete and Danladi. And the writer says Senate okays Kiamo, Bagudu, Umahi, Edu, Alake, Better Edu rather, and 39 others. And then the other writer says, I want to serve in national interest. Wike writes PDP. The last writer says ministers for induction. That story started on the front page, but continue reading on page 4 in the Nation's newspaper. And just below the big story in the Nations, we have the D Tigers, which has won the Women Basketball Championship for the 4th time in a picture with the First Lady Oluremi, and the wife of the Vice President there. Interesting one. Congratulations to the D Tigers. And below that, we have FB and shareholders seek SEC intervention in takeover bid. That's the restarted on the front page. Continue reading on page 28. And lastly, we have on ECOWAS plans review of Niger junta position. The writer says military closes Niamey airspace. Started on the front page, but continue reading on page 4. The last one, WAEC withholds candidates' result from 8 states. All right, that's all from the Nation this morning.
Now let's take a look at the First News newspaper. It has a lead story. It's on the ministerial screening, but from a different angle. It says ministerial screening, how Tinubu saved Keyamo from senators baying for blood. And then the Akpabio stops Aso Rock after Senate's rowdy session over ex-minister. And then the next writer says Keyamo apologizes, scales Senate's hurdle. And beneath that, security clearance, Senate withholds Erufai's confirmation as minister. We also have this story here at the bottom strip. Emefiele legally detained, findings on face-off at court premises shocking. This is according to the DSS. And then we have hard but necessary reforms imperative to ramp up tax revenues, according to the JTB chair, Nami. And just above the masthead, we have protests. Federal government makes U-turn, withdraws suit against Labour. These are the major stories on the First newspaper for today.
All right, we'll continue with This Nigeria. All this captioned is about the ministerial nominees and the ones that confirmed. He said screened and confirmed. So we have writers like Wike, Alake, Tunji Ojo, Pate, Lakboberi, 40 others pass ministerial screening. And then Senate fails to confirm Erufai Danladi Okotete as ministers. Another writer says Keyama's past comments throw raid chamber into rowdy session. Page 4 has that story. Above the masthead, we have federal government to end taxes on tomatoes, other raw food items, says JTB. Page 19 has that. And then we have pictorials of ministers that have been screened and confirmed. Just by the side that we have ex-aide exposes FCC chairman, reviews how jobs are sold to Nigerians. Interesting. Page 12 has that. Then on anthrax, federal government donates free 50,000 doses of vaccines to Lagos. Page 11 has that. And WAEC releases 2023 SSCE results, records 79.81% pass. All right, page 7 has that. And then lastly, we have a West African bloc to meet on Niger coup Thursday. There's one writer attached to this story. It says, as Air France suspends flights to Burkina Faso, Mali, after Niger shut airspace. Page 17 has that. And that's all from this Nigeria.
All right, now let's get perspective on some of the stories from our guest in the studio. Our guest today is a veteran journalist, Mr. Dan Manson. Mr. Dan, you're welcome to the show this morning.
Nice being with you.
It's good to have you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll just go right into it. We'll start with the Daily Trust lead story. Talks about Niger airspace closure. Eurobound flights diverted amidst fear of fare hike. Already we're seeing a story where the rider says Lagos-London one-way ticket costs 5.6 million naira. So the impact of some of the sanctions, some of the things that are happening in Niger are being felt very gravely in Nigeria. And now we have ECOWAS saying that they're going to meet on Thursday. How do you see all of this panning out?
Well, first of all, many people didn't know the importance of Niger in sub-Saharan Africa. But if you look back to history, Niger have played a very, very important role. When you look at the Trans-Sahara trade, before the colonial masters took over many countries we have in Africa today, if you are going to Mecca, you have to pass through Niger. And then most of the trading that was done in those days was through Niger. Even the jihad too, it plays a role. So we find out that when the decision was taken by ECOWAS, I think they didn't look back at history. But if you look back at history, you find out that Niger is a very important country, not just to West Africa, but to Africa as a whole. If you are going to Europe, you will pass through Niger and other countries. So what has happened is not surprising, you know, about the price hike, the flight price hike, because now the journey has to be longer because you have to pass through other countries to get to Niger. Even our brothers who are still in Mecca that are coming back, they also have to experience long flight.
Well, the journey is not just longer, the journey is more expensive now. The good thing is that ECOWAS is meeting on Thursday. How do you think ECOWAS is going to come out of this? I was listening to a report this morning that said that ECOWAS has boxed itself into a corner. Sure. Do you see it that way? And how are they going to come out of this?
Well, they have to humble themselves and face the reality of life, to also respect each nation. Because when they had issues, ECOWAS will have come down, go into Niger and find out what was the cause that, what made the coups to strike. And what happened is like almost in every African country, especially in West Africa today. Corruption, people want to sit tight, especially our leaders, and so many other crises.
I know that Niger is very important, and if I haven't known that, with everything that you pointed out this morning, I know that they're very important. But on the flip side of the coin, Niger has done, this is not the first time this is happening in Niger. And a lot of people are just pointing out the fact that they're very important, they're contributing this and this to the economy and all that. You have to send a delegation, which we did, more like a Nigerian delegation, I would say. But should we let this fly all the time, coming to the table? What can we do to make this go away if we can do that?
We should go back to the basics. And the basics is that make every person secure. When I'm talking of security, I'm talking of give people their basic needs. If you wake up today when you are sick and there's a hospital you could attend to, your children could go to a good schools, and then you'll find that nobody will care of what happened. But you see, most of our leaders have become bosses or rulers because they always grab what they want to get for themselves, their families. They forget those whom they are supposed to serve. And when you don't provide security, people will look for their own security. And in looking for your security, you find out that some of the elites will take advantage. And one of the advantages is to say, okay, they will now meet the masses and say, look, we are marginalized, so I'm going to speak for you. They are doing that not because they want to speak for you, but they want to speak for themselves. And in the process, coups, change of government takes place. And at the end of the day, you find out that it doesn't even solve the problem. So how we can get out of it is to have good governance, give everybody a sense of belonging. When we all have the sense of belonging, then true brotherhood will be practiced and people will see love. And once there is love, nobody will care where you come from, nobody will care of the tribe you speak or what you worship.
All right, still on the Daily Trust newspaper, there's a story here. Erufai to others confirmation on hold as Wike Party Edu 42 others were cleared. The question a lot of persons have been asking is because the Senate president said it's because they are waiting security clearance on these persons. And some people are saying that shouldn't that security clearance, shouldn't it have been done before the names were submitted even to the Red Chamber?
Well, I think that answer can always be given by the president himself, because what the Senate are expected to do is to screen the nominees. So if in the process of screening, as we saw, some people made petition like Karemi from Kogi, who made he
said he had a petition against the former governor of
Kaduna State.
There was also a petition against
Danladi, who Supreme Court
who it was said that the Supreme Court had banned because he had some explanations for that.
10 years. So, you know, when you talk of investigation never ends. So let's wait and see what will happen. So let's play the waiting game.
Another interesting thing that happened in the House yesterday was that of Festus Keyamo, which brought about a rowdy session in the House. And we've seen how people have been invited to face the House and how they've declined. And then now he has the opportunity to face them and get his name cleared for a ministerial position. What's your take on that, being cleared with just an apology?
Well, the greatest lesson we should learn is that, first and foremost, is that before you say something, think. Don't feel that because you are in power, you will remain there forever, because power is transient. So that is a great lesson for everybody. Every Nigerian should think, whatever you want to do, think twice, think of tomorrow.
It's amazing, but we have seen somebody who also wasn't in power, but he said something which he had to apologize for. One of the nominees, Mr. Bosun, on Saturday, when he was appearing before the Senate, he had made a tweet earlier where he called the senators a moron. And on that day, he had to apologize for that. So it's not just people who are in power that make some of the statements,
True.
You know, even just ordinary Nigerians.
Yeah, it's a lesson for all of us, because whatever you say matters. It may hurt somebody, it may demoralize somebody, it may encourage somebody, it may inspire somebody. So it's just a great lesson for all of us to learn.
All right, before we go, there's a story here on the Daily Trust. Kaduna villager who lost 3 kids to banditry killed bandits leader. On this this man had lost children before. Bandits came to his house and killed his children. And on this particular day, he was on his farm with his son, and the bandits came for him again. They had shot his son in the leg, and they were going after the boy to kill him, and he had to fight. What do you say to that? You're a father yourself.
Yeah, what he did is what every father will do. If you have lost all, then what is the essence of life? Will you stay alive and see your son being killed? Or see your daughter being raped? You need to stand.
Self-defense.
Self-defense. Let them know that, look, I have a father. And what that man did, he's a hero. So even though he's dead, but it's also taught us that all of us as a people must work together.
No, he didn't die. He killed the bandit.
No, I'm saying yes. Even though the bandit is dead, you know, is a lesson that all of us have to work together. We must be courageous to face our challenges.
But can we even get to a point where we don't have to defend ourselves against these bandits, where the bandits are no longer exist?
Well,
can we get to that point?
We can get to that point if those who are supposed to do those things do the needful. If you are a president and you appoint an army chief, a GOC, and he's not performing, kick him out, because that is the purpose why he's there. And if you are a commander and you didn't perform your duty well, when you are routed by people who are unskilled, resign and let people who can handle this country do. If we do that, I think our country will be a better place.
All right. I think that's a good place to end the show this morning. Thank you so much, Mr. Dan Benson, for joining us. We hope to have you again sometime.
Yeah,
Thank you too.
more of you on the show.
All right.
Thank you.
That's our show this morning. If you have missed anything, join us on all our social media platforms. Thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Stella Iyaji. Join us same time, same station tomorrow. For now, to have a very pleasant day.
My name is Mardia Umar. Thank you for watching. Other programs are lined up for you. Stay with us.